Hello everyone, welcome to my review of the C-3PO and R2-D2 premium format figures by Sideshow Collectibles. This is the regular edition, which means that we have both droids sharing one huge base here that has a sandy surface, and both of the droids are dirtied up and worn down as we remember them from Tatooine. And yeah, if you compare this set to the exclusive edition, you have each droid standing on their own base, and you have a different surface here, probably the surface that resembles Yavin 4, a tiled indoor surface, and both of the droids are, well, in clean and mint condition in the exclusive set. But this is how I prefer having the droids depicted. Dirtied up and worn down, walking the surface of Tatooine. I find that to be the most iconic rendition of these guys. And as you can see also, if you look closely, both of them have the iconic Restraining Bolt attached, one here and one on R2-D2 right here. And yeah, this is just so iconic to me, and it really resembles Star Wars so well, I think. And for that reason I find that these two guys and this particular set here deserves to be in any serious Star Wars collection, at least if you're into quarter scale statues. So yeah, I'm really happy having gotten this set here. I was a bit hesitant in the beginning. I don't really know for sure why that was the case. Probably maybe because that this is just a couple of, well, some would probably say boring droids, because they don't really have that many action scenes. They are mostly known for their characters and their personalities, I guess. But I find that they are very iconic because they are pretty much involved in any movie and animation we have out there. So yeah, I don't think it gets much more iconic than this. Now what I'm gonna do in this video is to well, I think I'm gonna divide it up. So I'm gonna talk about C-3PO and I'm gonna save R2 for later, and I'm just gonna divide it up like that. I think that would be the best. Yeah. So let's just jump right in and start and zoom in on C-3PO to begin with, and I'll talk a little about him. Alright guys, here we go. Now as you can see, the paint application is really nicely done, I think. The wear is done in such a nice way. We have some oil stains running down from all the details here, and from underneath the restraining bolt, which is actually just attached with a magnet, and it just fits on right there. And it's a nice detail. It's done really nicely, I think. And as you can see, the way they done the metallic look of this character, well, I don't think it could have been done much better. And I don't know how well this translates on the video here, but it's really done in a nice way, especially the wear. And I'm gonna do a 360 here. It's like the entire shiny surface here is covered by some kind of grease, which really does a lot to show a more dirtied version of this character. And it actually has a light up feature, which is, well, it's a little bit different than how you usually turn it on, because instead of having a button underneath the base somewhere, you have to take off his face here, like that, and underneath we have a button which turns on his eyes. Like that, and it snaps back right on with a magnet, which is really strong, so it's no problem getting it back on. And I guess it's a bit of a different way of going about light up features, and I don't really know what to think of it. To be honest, I don't like that I have to take off his face every time I want to turn on the lights in the eyes. I feel that it somehow takes away maybe from the sense of this being a statue that is just, you know, solid and strong, that you can just remove his faceplate, which is actually made of plastic as well, by the way. It's hollow, you can hear here, compared to the body. It does something to take away from the statue aspect, I guess. But yeah, they really wanted to get in the light feature, and I understand that. It's the same deal with the life-size bust that I have. I guess it's very important that this guy has light up features, but again, I'm not really a big fan of light up features, because eventually it's gonna break or something like that, and then I just feel that I have a defective piece, I suppose. But as long as it works, and you can just put in a new battery whenever it dies out, actually, it doesn't have any AC plug, so you can't put it into the wall. There's no cables running down through the legs into the base or anything like that. So you only have this one option of using a battery. Anyways, we have a really nice design here. It's probably not screen accurate, anything of this, because, well, if I know Sideshow correctly, then they are going for a more idealized version, or something that they pick up from watching a few models or promo art or something like that. It's not really screen accurate, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail about and compare this to the movie screens and stills or anything like that. This is a very fine representation of C-3PO in any case, so I think it really does the job quite well. I'm gonna skip right ahead to be talking about his body here, because yeah, this is going to be a long video if I don't push it a bit. So give me 2 seconds. Alright guys, here we go. Now the main thing I want to talk about now is that this is actually a poseable statue, which means that you have some options in terms of how to display him, because you can actually move the arm here up and down, and you can actually raise it all the way up so he waves at you, and you can turn it like this, and you can also bend the arm by the elbow like this. And I'm being very careful, as you can see, because you can actually break these pistons here. They move up along the forearm here and the back arm here, and in and out of this cylinder here. And if you're not careful, you're gonna break it. And I know that because I did that myself actually, and I had to glue this part on right back here. And yeah, you have to avoid this, because that's just not something you want to do with such an expensive piece. And the hand here can also be turned. And what you get from this is that you can actually take his right arm and pose it so that he has it resting on the dome of R2. And that is, I guess, a very iconic pose, I suppose. So yeah, it's really nice, I think. But again, I didn't really need any of these articulations here, because, well, if they just went with one way of doing it, I would have been just as happy. I don't like moving around bits and pieces and tweaking it or anything like that. So yeah, it's no big deal to me, to be quite honest. Anyways, as you can see, we have the same paint going on all the way down here. It's a really nice finish, as I said. Some have critiqued that the middle section here, underneath here, with all the cables and all that running, isn't that detailed. They would have preferred if some real cables and stuff was running around down there. And I find it just fine as it is. I like that it's solid in this section here, so I don't really mind. The paint application is still really good, I think, so I wouldn't complain about that. But I see what people mean. It would have been nice with some details, especially because you see on some of the other collectibles of C-3PO, like the 1/6 figures, you have actually cables running around here that you can, well, feel and move around a bit. But this is just a solid thing here. There's not really much else to say here, because basically it's the same. It's mostly just the articulate arms here that are interesting in this area here. But well, if you plan to move around with these bits and pieces, you have to be really careful. And as I said, especially with these pistons here, because they are so fragile. And don't be alarmed when you unbox this piece that they are just waving all the way around here, and you have to actually insert them yourself, and again, you have to do that with some caution. Right, I'm gonna skip ahead to his lower section, and yeah, let's see what we have going on right there. Alright guys, here we have the entire base. I decided just to show you everything anyway, so yeah, here we go. And as you can see, the paint application is similar to the rest of the body of C-3PO. His right leg is silver, and that's actually how he looks like in the movie. Some people didn't know this until they were told after seeing this piece. But yeah, this is actually screen accurate, at least. The base, as I said, is sandy. You have Tatooine here, and if you turn it around, you can see there are some steps from C-3PO here, and you have some markings here that R2 has been driving up until this spot. And that's a nice detail, I find. The side of the base is black, and it's similar to other Star Wars pieces out there. You have just this black matte finish here going on all the way around, and it gives it this museum-like quality that I like. And I like this for most of my Star Wars pieces. But yeah, it's a really nice thing here. R2, by the way, is just, you can just lift him up. He's not inserted with any pegs or anything. He's just resting on the base casually. And C-3PO, on the other hand, has a peg in one of his foots here. I don't remember which one. Maybe you can see that in my unboxing video. I think it's yeah, it's one of these foots here. But yeah, it's really nice, I think. And the sand is just your generic surface. There's not really much to say. It looks convincing. It feels nice, and it's just, this base is just really impressive because it's so big, and of course it has to be big in order to sustain two premium formats, two characters standing on top of it. And as I said also earlier, this is how I prefer my droids on this sandy shared base, because these two guys belong to each other. They shouldn't be standing on their own bases apart from each other. So yeah, this is how I prefer it. Now, for the rest of my video, well, at least before I wrap it up, I'm gonna try and focus a bit on R2-D2, because of course this video also needs to put some time towards this character. So give me 2 seconds in order for me to set up the camera. Alright guys, now R2-D2, as I said in the beginning, is a very light premium format, and I would say, to be quite honest, I don't feel that he's really a premium format as such. I feel he's more of, in this set here at least, I feel he's more of kind of a prop for C-3PO, because C-3PO is the one that's made from a heavy duty material, and C-3PO, R2-D2 is just made from plastic, hollow plastic basically. He's really light to pick up, like an empty carton of milk, and that's pretty, well, unimpressive somehow, I guess. If I zoom out, you can see that I'm able to turn on his lights by pressing the button on the top, on the very top and center of his dome. And you have this programmed lighting going on here, which is really cool, by the way, because it really gives this piece some kind of life, and it's a nice detail. And you actually also have lights going on. I'm just gonna, yeah, it's difficult to turn actually because there are these magnets inside. But if you turn it around here, you can see there's also lights on the back. And what you noticed here was me just picking up the dome and putting it down onto the body once again. There are these magnets that make him line up somehow, but they also hinder you to just turn his dome around 360, because these magnets are gonna go in, yeah, you know, plus plus, minus minus, whatever. So it's gonna be a problem when you just turn the head around. So you have to probably pick it up before you set it down once again. And as you can see, there are some really cool light effects going on here. I don't know how well you can see it. Yeah, it's not that bad. It looks really cool. And yeah, the battery is underneath his dome here. Just your typical slot for a battery. What size is this? AA or something? I don't know. And there are these magnets inside, but you don't really need the magnets. If you're careful, you can just rest the dome on top of the body here. Anyways, the paint job here, I'm just gonna turn him. I don't like him like this. Oh, Morgan. Right, now the paint application is really nice about R2. I really find this is one of the best paint applications that I've seen for any rendition of R2, because, well, the effect of him being worn down and dirty is really nicely done, especially in the wide areas here. It just looks so convincing, I think. And as I said, you could turn his head around, and you also have these things here that you can pull out. They don't really have any purpose or anything. It's just he's a bit articulate, but it's kind of silly, to be honest. And you have the restraining bolt here, which is the same deal going on here. You just have a magnet, and it just, well, I had to search for it for quite a while before I found it the right place. But yeah, it's, as you can see, it sits quite nicely here. It's pretty strong, so it can't really fall off. Now, yeah, let me zoom out again, because A thing that's interesting about R2 is that you can actually, well, if I pick him up, you can see what I'm talking about. You can actually push in his foot here. I don't know how easy this is. It's not really easy. Like that. And then you can turn his body. Like that. And you have to be careful. Yeah. Something like that. Now, what do we have here? We have the standing up R2. And this is also a very iconic pose, and some would probably prefer him like this. So yeah, you have a level of articulation also going on here with R2-D2, and that's also really nice, I think. Because, well, we all have our preferences in terms of how we want to display R2. Some like him with his middle thing going out, and some like him standing up more vertically like this. And I don't really know what I prefer, but that doesn't really matter anyways. This just gives him one of his more iconic looks, I guess. But yeah, I don't think there's much else to say about R2 because, well, he's just R2. And I think I covered everything. His articulation, his light effect, the dome thing with batteries, and the paint application again, which is really nice, I think. Oh, yeah, that's annoying because it jumps out sometimes if you move the piece, so you have to flip it back in. Yeah, like this. Just like that. And again, yeah, it can be a bit annoying that he's this articulate and made of plastic. It doesn't really give you a sense of this being a statue, because it's not. It's more a figure or something. Yeah. Anyways, let me zoom out, let me wrap up this review, and yeah, that'll be the end of it. Alright guys, now, as I said in the beginning, this is probably one of the most iconic sets or duos in film history, and of course in that sense they also are very important if you have a Star Wars collection, because they really represent quite well. It's a really cool set. It's a bit pricey, but I guess that's because you actually get two characters. The problem is that I feel only that one of them is a real statue. R2 is more like a prop or something, a figure. He's done really nicely. The paint application, everything about him looks really convincing. But as soon as you pick him up, you feel that he's just made of a thin, cheap quality plastic, and that's a bit sad, I think. The light up effects are nice. I don't really need them. Of course, it makes sense that R2 has his light up here, because that's how we remember him. That's how he communicates, and it makes sense, I guess. But I don't really like light ups, because I feel that in time, if it breaks or something like that, well, I'm just gonna be very sad that I have something that's not working anymore. And I think that that challenges the statue aspect of this set, I think. But yeah, anyways, it really looks nice, and the paint application and everything about this regular set here is really cool, I think. And I really do prefer the regular set over the exclusive edition. I guess some people just find the Yavin 4 scene with the clean droids iconic as well, and I guess it serves them right as well, but I just prefer it like this, and it's nice that Sideshow gave us this option of displaying the droids in two different settings, and for the hardcore collectors, well, there was just even more reason for them to get both sets, I guess, although I don't really know many collectors who've decided to do that. The articulation of C-3PO is nice. It's very fragile, so you have to be extremely careful so that you don't break anything. Again, I don't find it necessary, really. I would prefer if Sideshow just made up their mind and decided to go with a set pose. But some people, again, are going to prefer it like this, with a bit of articulation, being able to tweak it once in a while, or being able to just achieve their most ideal and preferred pose of these guys. I guess that makes sense, but I prefer when Sideshow just does the deciding for me, and I just have to evaluate their thinking and their decisions and just learn to come to terms with that. But that's not really the case here. The choice is given to me as a collector, and that's, I guess, also nice in some sense. But yeah, that's basically it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I know I'm late compared to many other guys out there on YouTube, But I hope you find it useful and interesting anyways, and do remember to, well, if you have any questions or comments, post them. And remember to like and subscribe, guys. Thanks a lot, guys. Okay, take care.